Oh, Merry Christmas! Happy December, Tales Point Hall Book Club. And we've been reading a super chiller, Fear Street, Silent Night. I finally met Reva Dolby, and what an experience! So I hope you had fun with this one as much as I did. I've got this hat on, but I feel like it's shrunk, so it might pop off my head at any point. Right, I'll just add everyone in. If anyone's here yet. Oh, no one's here yet. I'll add them in a minute. But yeah, I hope you had fun with this one. Reva was an experience, I'll tell you that. She came out with some classic lines which just made me howl. Oh, there's Hiko. Hi, everyone. Right, just add Hiko in. I can't believe it's the end of the year. Where has the year gone? Right, it should be Hiko. Ho ho ho!
Ho, ho, ho.
Hi Hiko. Oh, I
Hello,
could have done a
Kelly.
rhyme there, couldn't I? Ho ho ho! Here's Hiko. Anyway,
Can you hear me okay?
yeah, I can hear you and I
Um,
can see your lovely face as well. Right, here we go. Just add Jessie in. And then I just need to add John in. Hi, Jessie. I love your antlers.
Thank you, thank you.
Oh, brilliant. I was like, do I wear antlers or do I go with the Santa hat? So I thought I'll go with the Santa hat.
My head's too big. The Santa hat was a little too snug with the
That's
headphones.
that's the same with mine. Oh, it's going to pop off at any minute, I'm
Yeah,
sure.
yeah. Let's zoom
Right, I've
in.
just added John in, so hopefully he will be here as well. If I've done it right, because you never know. These things happen. Let me try again, just in case. Oh, here he is. Is this John? Oh no, I'm imagining things now. Oh, it's a Christmas spirit. John.
I was gonna wait to apply my lipstick, and hopefully there's no
Oh,
needles in there.
yeah.
and
Oh,
Ooh,
watch out, watch
happy
out.
early birthday, Jesse.
Yeah,
thank
happy
you.
birthday,
Thank
Jessie,
you
for
so
tomorrow.
much.
Is it
Yes,
tomorrow?
tomorrow. Yeah.
Oh,
This is a
amazing.
fabulous way to kick off the birthday weekend.
Oh, you got any plans for tomorrow?
Go see a movie and early dinner. It's been a birthday month. I had a party last weekend, so,
Oh, lovely.
yes.
Oh, so nice. 21. You're only 21,
I
buddy.
know, right? You guys, barely legal in the States.
Mm,
Oh dear. Oh, I don't think John's with us yet, so I'll start and then I'll add John in when I see him. Maybe he's got a bit delayed, but yeah, 21, Jesse.
I
Wow.
know. It's been quite a year.
Oh, so obviously, I know we've done Fear Street chats before. We did Prom Queen last year, and everyone always said, Shelley, you need to read this one because I've never read it before. You need to meet Reva, and now I've met her. Never gonna forget her.
yeah.
Never ever.
I just I just like to I just like to brag. I have my first edition copy right
That
here
is
Oh,
fabulous.
I
in
love
mint
that.
condition.
Nice.
Yeah,
Gorgeous.
Oh,
you can tell it has the large font
oh
logo.
yeah,
Right.
it's
Well,
like
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. And
engraved.
I have it's the R.L. Stein. Yep.
Yeah.
That's
Oh,
yeah.
I
usually
love
that's
that.
usually the dead giveaway with the
That's in
earlier
such
Yeah.
books,
good
right?
condition as well.
Yeah.
And I've had such flashbacks reading this to when I actually got this in 1991 at my local mall
Oh
with my aunt. And I
wow.
remember, yeah, I can remember clear as day when I got this in my hands. So, yeah.
Oh, I love that. I love when you reread, a book from your childhood and it just evokes that memory of when you first read it or where you brought it from. Oh, I love that. It's so cool. Oh dear. And what a book as well. Oh.
We have a lot to unpack.
We really do. We really do. So obviously I've selected the very best Dolby department store employees to join us today. And you're no strangers to our little book club, as I mentioned, and it's always such a pleasure to chat with you. So obviously we've got Hiko from Fear Street Diaries, and Fear Street Diaries is dedicated to all things Fear Street, clues in the title. But yeah, Hiko does a fantastic job, and you share like different editions of the Fear Street books and things like that. And oh, it's so cool. I always love seeing it. And obviously, we've got the brilliant Jessie, Jeff from Jessie's House of Pulp, and lots of R.L. Stine on Jessie's page, Christopher Pike, Fear Streaks. You do Fear Street Fridays. And also, so cool. I just love seeing all of the memories. Oh, here's John. I just add John
Yay,
in.
John.
John! Right. Hopefully that will work. Fingers crossed, and then I can do John's introduction. That was like perfect timing.
Mm-hmm.
John!
Yeah.
Hey,
Hey.
I was sat
Hello.
there patiently waiting. I was like, oh,
I was like, I looked for you earlier and I couldn't see you, and I thought, oh, I'll see you pop up, but then, yeah,
felt
I just
snubbed like
saw
poor
you.
Pam.
Oh, bless you.
I will have my
Anyway,
revenge.
no. But anyway, here is the lovely John. John is Wonderboy76 on Instagram, and John collects all things retro books, films, toys, and basically you've just had a really awesome tattoo as well, John, of the She-Ra.
Don't know if
It's
it'll come
so
out.
cool. So
Can you see
cool.
it? It's difficult to get
Just
the
Yeah.
angle right.
about, yeah. Oh, it's
It's on
Yeah.
my
so
Instagram. It's on my
cool.
Instagram anyway.
Oh, when I saw it, I was like, oh, tempted myself. But... So obviously, Silent Night then is a Fear Street super chiller. So these were kind of like a spin-off. Woohoo! These were a spin-off of the obviously the normal teen series, and apparently they featured more longer stories, more intense stories, often centered around holidays or like summer settings, and sometimes set out of Shadyside, I believe. And the series includes 13 original books published between 91 and 98. So have you read any of the other super chillers, Hiko?
And I have all of
Ah,
them.
oh,
So
do you?
I do. Yeah, and the Silent Night trilogy, when those came out, when the sequels came out, I think Silent Night 2 was the first sequel ever in the Fear Street series. And so when that came out, I was so excited. And even the cover is one of the most iconic covers, including,
Yeah,
this original. Like the original and the sequel cover kind of rival each other. And when I
yeah.
did the fan bracket last summer, a lot of
Mm,
people loved and chose like Silent Night and Silent Night 2 as their favorite, as
yeah,
the
they are
best
such good
cover.
covers.
Yeah.
Great covers. And I was looking in the front of the book earlier, and I love as well, I think they do credit the cover artist, Bill Schmidt,
Yeah.
which I thought was quite cool because often we don't know who the cover artist is, do we, with these books? So I thought that was pretty
Oh.
cool. Hmm.
Yeah, Bill Schmidt did a majority of the books, a lot of the iconic
Yeah.
cover art. And I think a while ago, I tried looking him up to see where he is, if he's still around, if he does
Yeah.
other artwork. It'd be really cool to like, I don't know, learn more about him because we now know, with Goosebumps, they had a whole coffee table book published about
Yeah.
the Goosebumps artwork, and it would be great if Fear Street had the same
That
treatment.
would be so
Yeah,
cool. Yeah. So cool.
yeah.
How about you, Jesse? Have you read any of the other super chillers?
Yes, and I'm a huge nerd. I own them all as well.
Oh, I love it.
I had a few from childhood, but most of my collection has been from the past 5 or 6 years. I've amassed, the original Fear Street run and the original Super Chiller run. I know they did some other books and some other spin-offs in the late 90s and
Mm,
2000s, but that original, 51, 52 Fear Street books, and I think there's like 13 Super Chillers. Those
yeah.
are it for me. I specifically remember reading the sequel, borrowing it from my cousin when I was visiting her in Santa Cruz decades
Yeah.
ago. She had stacks and stacks of Fear Street books, but this is one of my favorites. This is one that I've read and reread several times as an adult. So I'm
Oh.
tickled and very excited to be talking all things Riva. And she's iconic. She's an iconic character. And if you're familiar with the Fear Street franchise, she's one of those characters that is continually pops up or is referenced, or she's just in the background at a party or at a sports event or whatever. So he always has to name drop Riva even in the later books.
Oh, I love that because I think I did read that R.L. Stine said this is one of his favourite Fear Street books and he enjoyed writing Reva due to how mean she can be. So
Mhm.
obviously he liked her as a character.
Yeah. You can
How,
tell. You can tell. This one is very well written for Fear Street and
yeah,
for R.L. Stine. It's definitely an earlier one.
yeah, definitely. How about you, John? Have you read any of the other super chillers? Have you read this one before?
No, and I actually didn't know that I had it because I remember when you asked me if
Oh,
I wanted to
yeah.
do this, and you said, "Do you want me to send you a copy?" And I was like, "You got that one?" And I dived in and realized I had all three of them, but I hadn't read them. The only other super chiller I have is Broken Hearts, so I have that one, and I haven't read that
Mm.
one either. So yeah, looking forward to diving into into
Oh.
those because I wasn't quite sure what super chiller meant. Actually, what I realized it meant is there's a fair amount of super padding. Um, just to kind of like lengthen it out a little bit. But yeah, looking forward to diving into some of the other super chillers where we can take his time a little bit. Yeah,
Yeah,
so
definitely. I just saw Matthew put, there's a Silent Night too. Yeah, and a
And
and
third
three.
one.
three.
Three.
And three.
Three.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I posted all three of them earlier, and the covers are just, oh, they're just so iconic. Yeah, Bill said three helpings of Reaver. Yeah, whoa. Matthew said definitely going on the list after I get the February to April book club picks. Yeah, we'll have to do we'll do the sequel, definitely. Narissa said Reva and Corky, the cameo queens in Fear Street.
Yes.
Oh dear. And I saw Matthew put making fun of homeless people. I could see her doing it. I mean, she makes fun of everybody, really, doesn't she?
Yeah.
um, so obviously this one's about, as we've mentioned, Reva. Reva thinks that she can do whatever and whoever she wants. After all, her daddy owns Dolby department stores, but Holiday Cheer quickly turns to Holiday Chills for Reva because someone starts stalking her and someone has some surprises in store. Robbery, terror, even murder. Yay! So someone wants to treat Reva to a holiday that she'll never forget. So we've got to start off with talking about Reva. So obviously we first meet Reva 2 weeks until Christmas time, I believe it is, and Reva's kind of admiring her reflection in the glass countertop, the job on her makeup stand. And obviously we learn that she lives on the expensive side of Shady Town. She's got red wavy hair, cold blue eyes, good taste in lipstick, and drives a Volvo. And Reva says that she's always calm and controlled. That's what she thinks of herself. So obviously she's an iconic legend. So what are your thoughts on Reva? Jesse?
I mean, you love to hate her, right? She's
Yeah.
so, especially as the books go on, she's so well written for a Fear Street character. I think she's kind of fully realized and sort of fully examined. I mean, she's an archetype, she's an antagonist, but there is just something delicious about Riva. I mean, there's a reason why I think he kept coming back to this character, but
Mm.
she's a quintessential, what, queen bee, quintessential mean girl. She rivals these other mean girls that we know from pop culture, from TV and movies. So she's high up there on the list.
She
Absolutely.
she
Yeah.
really is, definitely. I just love how outspoken she was. How about
No
you?
filter. No
Oh,
filter.
no filter at all, no filter. How about you, John? What did you think of Reva first time reading her like me?
Her reputation preceded her, so I was aware of this character, from other kind of history blogs and chats, and I'd never read the book. And I thought, how bad can she really be? And she is terrible. Um, And I was kind of relieved when and Jesse mentioned this because the book is kind of quite complex for a Fear Street book anyway, at least, that the kind of narrative POV slightly shifted, because I thought it was a very brave choice to center that sort of character. Even though she's love to hate character, there's only so much of that you could take. So I was very relieved that we didn't follow her POV all the way through. And we got that kind of parallel storyline with Pam, because I think she would have been a whole book of that from that POV would have been slightly too much. We
Yeah,
get
I
the kind of
agree.
we get that kind of very cliche kind of late 80s, early 90s kind of problematic stuff. There's a lot of fat shaming stuff in there, which was kind of de rigueur for the time. So I'm not going to pull that up, specifically on
Yeah.
this, because a lot of people were doing that. But yeah, but Jesse's right. She was just actually kind of so much fun, and you can tell that Stein actually has so much fun, like writing her, that you kind of love to hate. She is a character that you love to hate, and eventually you do see other sides of her through the book. She's not a complete Ice Queen. You do see other
Yeah.
sides of it. I mean, normally it's at the expense of others suffering, that she kind of has these revelations about herself. But yeah, she
She
was
think
she was
she thinks these things, but then she
yeah,
quickly like goes
yeah.
off it
And
again.
I love the idea that she thinks she's calm and collected, because she's the most panicky teenage girl in all of Fear Street. This girl has got this. Her and Jenny from the Babysitter series would get on so well, I think.
Oh yeah, so well. And maybe Joanna from The Boyfriend as well.
Hmm.
So well. Besties. How about you, Hiko?
Yeah, I mean, revisiting her 30 something years later now, yeah, she's deliciously, bitchy. But however, I like, you know, watching it, rereading it.
It would make a
I,
good film. It really would
oh
make
yeah,
a
I
good
mean,
film.
I'm sure there's a lot of fan fervor for Netflix to do a Silent
Mm,
Night trilogy. But of course, they would have to make it a little more slashery. But
mm.
Riva, no, I think, you know, I was reminded, of her past too. Like the girl, I think, is like suffering inside because we
Mm,
find out her mother passed away, so she has some like unresolved grieving issues, I think, just undiagnosed, just from an
yeah,
armchair
yeah, I think
psychiatrist
so.
perspective. But and maybe that's why she has such an attitude and a mood. And
Mm,
I like that R.L. Stine dropped that detail. Like you can assess yourself, like why she is the way
mm,
she is, and she probably because she has no mother. So
yeah. And it was quite traumatic. Her mum died in a plane crash. I mean,
yeah,
that's like quite dramatic. That's going to affect you. I mean, regardless of,
yeah.
anything. But
And
I,
she has a little brother to take care of.
yeah,
And
that's
she's
it.
actually quite maternal towards him. That was the kind of
Yep.
side where you saw she's
Mm,
actually quite nice. She kind of looks out for him, and um, you know, treats him really nicely. That's the whole other side of her when she's at home, as opposed to when she's in the department store, when she's with
mm,
other people. There's like two sides to her. So I thought that was
yeah.
interesting.
Yeah, I kind of I loved her. I loved her character so much. Like, loved to hate her, I should say. But I love the way that you kind of do see three sides. So you see the side that she projects to people and is that mean side. You've obviously got her internal thoughts, which is probably just as mean sometimes as what she's projecting out. But then you've got that vulnerability, like you said, Hiko, and then even that scene when at the beginning when she's walking through the department store and she's like a bit on edge because the lights are off and things like that. There's that vulnerability still there, hiding away beneath her, that she's just burrowed away as far as that she can, but you kind of it eats out a little bit, and I kind of like that. I thought it just gave her a bit of humanity sometimes in those
Mhm.
moments, and
and
I love that.
I think having a third person narration for this book
Mm,
worked because R.L. Stine, like as the Fear Street books went on, he did a lot more first person POV
mm,
narrating. And I think having Riva and the Silent Night books in general be third person perspective, that helps, especially when you switch to her cousin Pam.
yeah,
Because if you're reading first person, you're just hearing, you don't get a chance to get an omniscient narrator kind of look down at her
yeah,
in a certain way. And it's not just her being inside her head all the time, which I think would get a little tiring
yeah,
and
yeah.
monotonous. Yeah.
Definitely, I agree. Definitely. Books and stuff said, I love Reva Dolby. She's a piece of work. She's so conniving, sneaky and bitchy. Love it. Matthew said she could have been a character on Dynasty. Very true.
Oh, yeah.
She would have fitted in so well.
Or Melrose Place.
Like a Gossip Girl or something
Yeah,
too.
something like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Matthew said Reva will not be ignored. Yes, she will not be ignored. Bill said Reva was an icon from the first page. Such a great character. Fear Street's Regina George. Yeah, definitely.
Yes.
Sharon said she's vile but such fun. Books and Stuff said, I agree, Bill. Reva is definitely an icon, very memorable character, and she's a well-formed three-dimensional character, definitely. Narissa said, this was my first Fear Street 7 years back, and what an intro. Oh, wow, first
Wow.
Fear
Yeah.
Street. I love that. And Matthew said that Reva and Jenny would be frenemies. Maybe. Yeah, Narissa said Jenny would drive Reva up the wall. Can you imagine? Can you imagine Reva's inner monologue, like dealing with Jenny? Jenny Jeffers. Books and Stuff said, very interesting to see the book from a different perspective through Pam's eyes. Instead of just Reva. So we'll have a chat about that in a second. But I was wondering what your favourite Reva line or Reva moment in the book was. I mean, I had a few and I couldn't pick one, but I'll narrow it down to one in a second. Jesse?
Oh, there's too many to. I have to begin with the lipstick and the needle because that is such an iconic scene in the entire franchise. That's one I think that the fans bring up all the time. But also when the beginning of the book, we're setting up the character and she just dumps Hank at the side of the road and is just kicks him out of the car and is just like, get lost. Get lost. I think, I think those are probably two of my favorite scenes of hers. Yeah, but just the needle and the lipstick. I mean, you really can't top that.
Yeah, iconic. How about you, John?
I loved her Jessica Fletcher moment right towards the end when she's, kind of, you think everything's kind of wrapped up and they're like, oh, she thinks she knows who killed Mitch, and then she bolts up right in bed at like 2 a.m. or something, and she says, I know who killed Mitch. It was that kind of Murder, She Wrote moment. Every episode of Murder, She Wrote, there'd be some innocuous thing that would happen, and Jessica would go, oh, I know who's done it. She would solve it in a second. And I really enjoyed that because suddenly she sort of went from kind of being a little passive to kind of like, right, I know who's done this, and I'm gonna go and set out and prove it. But and then you forgot on that, from then on, I was like, that kind of, you in danger, girl. You're in danger, girl.
Yeah.
As soon as she started poking around, So I like that moment. That stuck out for me because that was a little bit of a character shift for her. That's kind of when she shifted into a different gear.
Yeah, I totally agree on that. How about you, Hiko? Do you have a favourite line or a favourite moment?
Well, yeah, it's very like soap opera vixen moment when she's caught kissing someone else's boyfriend. She's caught kissing Mitch by his girlfriend Lissa. And Reva's totally unfazed, and she calmly, pulls away from Mitch and I think she said, oh, she goes, we're kind of busy right now. What do you want? To the boy she's kissing his girlfriend, like that's so cold and just
so cold, so cold. And then doesn't she like chase? He chases after Lissa, doesn't he? And then she kind of goes after Mitch, and then she's like, "Don't you follow her?" Like really, like bit pushy. Something like that. Anyway, there was a couple of lines that stuck out to me. One of them was when she's talking about, I think she must be talking to the boss on the makeup counter, and she goes, Daddy wanted me to start at the bottom, but I refused. And I was like, well, go girl. So I liked that one. And then I also liked the moment when Reva congratulated herself on arriving at the store on time. And then she goes, I hope I'm not turning over a new leaf. Promptness is such a virtue, a boring virtue. So there's so many like lines that she comes out with. And there was one, I didn't write it down, but I've written the page number. It was something to do with when she's talking to her dad. Here we go. Let's see if I can find it. Oh yeah, so it's when she's got the blood all over her cashmere sweater. So she's on about like going home. So he suggests, why don't you just pick out a new sweater here in the store? He suggested.
Yes,
She laughed. Shop in this tacky store? She asked with exaggerated horror. Please, Daddy, give me credit for better taste than that. And I was like, she's even insulting her dad. Her dad's taste in department stores.
That tacky store pays for a Volvo.
Yeah.
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 So I was like, oh, she's so iconic. Oh, love her. Bill said Reva would get so sick of Jenny going on and on about Mr. Hagen. She'll probably prank her with some phone calls. Hi, babes. Company's coming for the holidays. Yeah, Books and Stuff said the needle in the lipstick scene from the first chapter is so memorable. But I really loved that scene with the cashmere sweater and the bottle of blood. Well, we don't really know if it was blood or paint, I guess. It wasn't really confirmed, but you can just imagine that playing out in a movie scene when it drops and then it just splashes up her. So cool. I was like, this is cool. Sharon said this was my first time reading A Fear Street as well.
Oh.
That's Sharon Weir. Matthew said, I felt like the different perspectives made it so much richer. It reminded me of The Party that we read earlier in the year, and I would rank it up there as good as The Party. So, yeah, so obviously, as we've mentioned, we get that different point of view. So we get Pam's point of view, who is the cousin of Reva, and she lives on the poorer side of the town on Fear Street, I believe. So we're like, yay, Fear Street gets a mention. I know Reva calls her Miss Pretty Puss or Miss Sweet as Apple Pie. And she's the classic straight blonde hair, usually in a pony, flashing green eyes. And she's a clean-cut, all-American look, according to Reva. And Reva is very jealous of this. So obviously Pam is mixed up with two other boys, Mickey and Clay, I believe, and she also has a boyfriend as well called Foxy. So getting Pam's point of view then, we've mentioned it was refreshing, but did you like her as a character compared to Reva, maybe, John?
Yeah, and I wasn't expecting that POV shift because all the other Fear Streets I've read have been quite linear. There hasn't been, and there may be other ones that I don't know where he might go off and do some more something a bit more complex. But the ones I've read have been quite linear, so I was quite surprised in that shift. And she was definitely an interesting character. As I said before, I think I was just relieved to get a little bit of a break from Reva's kind of nastiness and bitchiness, and so that was a nice character shift. And then I think Pam was very, very well written, and I think she was well written because you found out a lot about her through the dialogue with her friends, as opposed to being told a lot about her, which sometimes is a little bit of a sort of tiresome sort of choice that authors make from that sort of era. You do find out quite a lot about her through her friends, and I thought the dialogue and the relationship between her and Clay and Mickey was actually really good. It was really entertaining. The three of them, especially when they're planning the robbery, that was really nicely done, and there was some great dialogue, and she was very believable. So I was always really glad when we went back to Pam, because she kind of grounded the whole thing a little bit more. That was a slightly kind of felt as a slightly grittier side of Fear Street. The sort of grittier, poorer side of Shady Side, and that was emphasized quite a lot. So yeah, I actually liked Pam, and I did like the fact that we had these kind of two concurrent stories running alongside each other, which sort of intersected, and then you found out that one of the characters actually was somebody that we'd already met.
Yeah,
just
that was cool.
I thought that was all very clever and really unexpected, and something that I thought was very unusual for a Fear Street book. So yeah, I was really surprised, and I liked Pam a lot. She was definitely a little bit more less panicky than Reva is.
Yeah, definitely. A little bit more indecisive as well, I think Pam was. But a bit more level-headed, I reckon. But driven by
the same sort of insecurities that Reva is. They just come from a different place. She imagines that Reva is happy and has everything that she wants, whereas Reva is kind of jealous of her because she's lost her mom, and she has these insecurities, and she's jealous of Pam, and Pam doesn't know that, and yeah, that was a kind of interesting sort of dichotomy between the two characters, I thought.
Yeah, and I loved how they set up that kind of little bit of rivalry between them, with obviously Reva not giving her a job at the store. And she's like, I can't believe she hasn't given me a job at the store, when Reva was inviting everyone to join for her own purposes, might I add. How about you, Hiko? What did you think of Pam and that whole shift?
Yeah, I think it was a good counterbalance because, like John was touching upon, it's if we were with Riva the whole time, it might have gotten a little monotonous, and we might have
Yeah.
not been so sympathetic to her. So getting Pam's POV was really good, and I think overall, it's the first time I remember having a Fear Street book really kind of demonstrate the class warfare in Shadyside.
Mm,
Like you're seeing the haves and have-nots, at odds,
yeah, that's so true.
and really coming together with this robbery at the department store. So, yeah, I found that was really interesting, and um, yeah, and I think it was if you were really, really get like academic about it and look into like the context of where America was in the
Mm,
early 90s. I think there was a recession. There were some class socioeconomic gap in America that people were
mm,
starting to really see for the first time. Um, so yeah, that was interesting. I'm glad Pam was there to balance things
mm.
out.
Yeah, that's how she
Yeah,
felt, like a balance, didn't she?
Mhm.
Sorry, John, go on.
I was just about to say the entire kind of robbery plotline did feel like something that you would have seen, especially in the first Fear Street film. It kind of felt like it was kind of emphasizing that. I think the first Fear
Yeah,
Street film did a really good job of kind of examining or at least portraying the different types of like we saying that sort of socioeconomic classes in Fear Street, and that felt like something that was a little grittier than we'd see in a normal Fear Street book, especially
mm,
the things that happen out of the robbery as well. So yeah.
yeah, no, definitely. How about you, Jesse? Did you like that shift having Pam's point of view?
I did, and I really think they're kind of two sides of the same coin.
Mm,
I think they're both very human, and I think they're both very flawed with their own sort of motivations and intentions, and
yeah,
just kind of the relationship that they have with each other. And that relationship is sort of, is explored in the later books, and, kind of seeing Reva's character kind of go back and forth. But Pam really is a good counterbalance. And you kind
yeah,
of feel bad for her. She's sort of mixed up with these wrong guys. And I love
mm,
the ending, like the two of them connecting at the ending and sort of Reva's kind of mask, both of their masks just sort of falling off, in front of each
yeah.
other. But I love the dichotomy between the two of them. And then again, that's something that's revisited in the sequels as well.
Oh, okay. It's nice to hear
Yeah.
that that's revisited in those. Yeah, because I've
But
not read those yet.
Riva doesn't necessarily learn her lessons in any of
No.
these books, and she reverts right back to being her true self. And yeah, and she's really mean and terrible to her cousin Pam. But
Oh.
so I'm hopefully we'll discuss those future books soon.
Yeah, definitely. We've got
Yeah,
to. I can't not. I've got Reva in my life now. I can't let her go. That's for sure.
no, you can't. No, you're gonna have her forever.
That's it. She's etched on my brain.
Hmm.
Books and stuff said they love the lines when Reva dumps her boyfriend. Oh, yeah, so good. Matthew said, "Murder She Wrote." I'm a Murder She Wrote fanatic. Oh yes, Sharon said, "Poor folded up Mitch." So
Yeah.
what did you
Oh.
think of Mitch? Like, I went like, I was a bit flippy floppy with
Hmm.
Mitch. I'll admit.
So is he
What?
in the
Yeah.
box?
Yeah,
Oh
he's
yeah.
he's disposable, right? He's disposable.
Oh yeah. So what did you think? What did you think, Hiko, of Mitch?
Well, he's also ultimately a blackmailer,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
he kind of gets his comeuppance,
Hmm.
and so yeah, he's one of those disposable shady side boys who
Mm,
becomes he's kind of like an F boy maybe, who
Oh
yeah.
yeah.
is an opportunist in the end, but yeah, he gets his due, and yeah, that was such a great chapter of like after Riva getting all of these pranks done to her while she's at work and receiving this large crate at her perfume
Yeah.
counter that's stuffed with a dead body.
So
That's
cool.
that
The
would be
dream.
that would be something great to see on film eventually.
Yeah,
So yeah.
yeah, that would be so cool.
Yeah.
How about you, Jesse? What did you think of Mitch?
Oh, he's just kind of a chump. Like I said,
Mm,
he's disposable, and then he does end up, being it's revealed that he was, blackmailing Pam and her friends. So
yeah,
yeah, he gets what's coming to him. He's wishy-washy too. He clearly is ready to immediately dump the girlfriend for Riva and,
Lisa,
sort of
yeah,
move on to the next thing. So yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, it
Mm.
wasn't great great murder though.
Oh, great
Great
murder.
great packaging, pun intended. So yeah. He had to go. He had to go and we needed a gruesome death
We
like that
needed
to
blood.
Yeah, we did. We really did.
Oh, how about you, John? What did you think of Mitch?
Yeah, same as everyone else thinks.
So,
I felt sorry for poor Lissa. I mean, she didn't really do
yeah,
Yeah.
anything apart
bless
from go out with
her.
a boy that Reva liked. And of course, as soon as she saw that, Mitch was sort of simping after her a little bit, she's like, "Oh, I'm not interested anymore," and kind of,
Yeah,
just dumps him,
he's a
straight
wimp.
off. Yeah, so I felt a bit sorry for poor Lissa. Reva kind of showed her up on her first day and, made her out she's going to have this like super job on the perfume counter, the Chanel counter, and they sort of showed her up there. And
Mm,
I felt a bit sorry for her. And then Mitch doing that to her, I was like, now I'm not going to feel sorry for Mitch. I feel sorry.
no.
My sympathies are with Lissa. She didn't deserve that, bless her.
Yeah, and then we almost got a side as well to Mitch, which I was like, no, Mitch. Where like Reva does say, no, I don't want you anymore. Just go away, kind of thing. And he picks up a bench that they've been sitting on and throws it against the wall. And I was like, no, no, no. I've got enough with Hank manhandling Reva to an extent that was inappropriate. And then Mitch goes and throws this bench against the wall. And I'm like, really? No, we don't want that.
But they have to set up. Yeah, they have to set up
Yeah,
any of the guys as being kind of
Hmm.
murderously capable of being
yeah.
the sort of person to threaten
It
Reva.
was a good red
Um,
herring. It was
it
definitely
was.
a
There was
good
quite
red
a few good
herring.
red herrings in the book.
Yeah, definitely. But I also, as well, I noted that at the start of the book, Reva said to Hank, I just decided to start the new year with someone more interesting. So I was like, is Mitch more interesting? And then
Mm.
I was like, yeah, when he's tied up in a bow, shoved in a box and dead. Yeah, it can be more interesting then. Oh dear. But I did love the twist that he was the one, doing the blackmailing. And I love that whole thing where Pam, you get that chapter where Pam sees who the blackmailer is, but you still don't know for a while. And then
Hmm.
all of a sudden, they don't even Stine doesn't make a big thing of the reveal of that either. It's just like in the text, because I was like, oh, wait, have I missed something?
Yeah, I thought
Yeah.
I'd missed something when I was reading it. I
Yeah,
skipped back a couple of pages. Thought, did I miss something? But no, it's just kind of dropped
it's
into
just
I think it's
literally
just
just
dropped into the
dropped in.
dialogue, isn't
Yeah,
it?
yeah. Which I actually kind of liked. I was like, oh, okay, that because it took me out of it a bit in a bit of a like, oh, way in a good way, definitely. Matthew said that whole kissing Mitch thing was just like Sammy Joe from Dynasty. I could almost envision Reva as Heather Locklear at that part. Yeah, definitely. um, yeah, Larissa said, did we ever find out if it was actually blood? So in the perfume bottle, where'd he get it from? Yeah, that's a point. It's got to have been paint, right? Maybe. Maybe,
He-
maybe he got it from these little children who sit on his knee while he's Santa.
If it were real blood, I would think there would be a smell, like an
Now,
odor.
Yeah.
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 Hmm.
yeah.
Yeah. Hi, Autumn. Scott said when Reva broke up with Hank and then wished him happy holidays. Yeah, so cool. Matthew said Pam was a teenage gangster mole. I think that says mole. Autumn says totally agree. I feel like Pam did ground things and I enjoyed seeing the differences between them. Yeah. Marissa said bit swinging here and there. Totally shocked by dip theft jump cut to I'll help Rob. Oh yeah, yeah,
Yes. We have to talk about Rob and the boys and
yeah,
the
definitely.
Foxy twist and oh
Oh,
yeah. And
so
pocket jalapeno dip and all of that. Yeah.
oh yeah. Well, I need to know more about that.
Yeah.
But obviously, that side story with the whole robbery. So Clay's kind of the catalyst for that, and I loved that whole opening scene with the car chase, and it really sets him up when he's like, they're on the run because he's held this guy up in the shop or whatever because for his dip. um, but what did you like that contrast of Clay, like Clay the bad boy, where we've kind of had like a couple of goody two shoes that turn bad. He was just bad from the offset.
hmm
Jesse?
I did. And I liked this kind of this aspect or this side of Stein. It kind of actually reminded me of Christopher Pike, because Christopher Pike would do more
Yeah.
of like kind of the gritty boys, the boys on the wrong side of the track, some of these characters that don't really have any redeeming qualities. So
Mm,
I enjoyed that because I feel like that's so few and far between in these Fear Street books, even if you have a boy that's a quote unquote bad boy, he's eventually redeemed at the end of the book, or the girl gets with the bad boy at the end of the book. And
mm,
these characters just were kind of gritty and unlikable. And
yeah.
I could fully envision these guys in my head.
Yeah, I agree, definitely. How about you, John? What did you think of Clay?
I liked the other guy. I like spending time in those characters because I'm going to echo what
Mm,
Jesse said. That felt very Pike to me. There was moments in that where in the store and stuff that kind of reminded me a little bit of some of the scenes in places like Witch, where you had these kind of slightly off the beaten track characters, these kind of bad boy characters who weren't really they weren't criminals, they were just kind of teenage boys that had just kind of gone off the rails a little bit, as teenage boys kind of tend
mm,
to do. And especially, obviously, if they're supposed to be from the sort of the poorer side of town, fewer opportunities, fewer
yeah,
chances, less money, that's kind of sometimes maybe an inevitable consequence of that. So I did like that greatness of it. And that to me was the more interesting part of the book. I kind of knew who Reva
mm,
was, from the first couple of times I saw Reva, and each time it was just kind of more of the same, enjoyable, but more of the same. Whereas the Pam and the boys storyline kind of advanced the story a lot more than Reva's POV. So I liked that element of it. Felt like we were seeing a proper part of a real part of Shadyside, and those kids in that storyline especially felt very real to me. I think the dialogue
yeah,
was brilliant and much better than actually a lot of the dialogue that I've seen from other Fear Street books. I think it was
mm,
particular that side of the book was particularly well written, and you could tell that Stein was having, really enjoying the kind of the plotting element of that and pacing it out. And yeah,
yeah,
it actually felt very realistic and grounded in a way that maybe
yeah.
some of the other Fear Streets I've read
hmm
just didn't necessarily have that sort of groundedness to them. This one did.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. With that. I love the whole that every time I was in their point of view, I was just like, into it, reading as fast as I could.
Yeah.
And then you just get them little snapshots back to Reva. I'm like, oh, I'm back to
Yeah,
Reva now.
you felt like you did feel like Pam and Clay and
Yeah.
Mickey were genuine friends. You felt that kind of relationship there that was established, and you didn't need an awful lot of backstory because, as I said, I think
Mm,
it was so dialogue driven, and it worked really well.
yeah, I agree. How about you, Hiko? What did
Yeah.
you think?
I mean, I think, well, the Pike observations are really great,
Yeah, so
and
good.
and yeah, just the and Clay, I don't know, kind of like was the antithesis of Reva, or it was a great
Mm,
contrast to where Reva comes from, and that Clay is like Reva, unapologetic, maybe very stubborn and determined. He kind of maybe here in this book could be like her male counterpart. I don't know, but
yeah, that's
definitely
true.
antagonist. Um, but yeah, and then it's really interesting how Stein paints a socioeconomic portrait
Mm,
of these kids, especially with Mickey's dad being alcoholic and out of work.
yeah,
That's
yeah.
really kind of heavy to deal with.
Mm.
And um, Mr. Blakely was the last name? Oh, Wakely?
Wakely,
Wakely?
Wakely,
Wakely.
Wakely,
yeah.
yeah. Um, So yeah, it was really interesting, and I I wish, and it makes me want to reread the books leading up to this book because I do kind of remember from this point on, like my obsession with Fear Street really kicked in, and I'm trying to write a book about the Fear Street books, and
Yeah.
I called like Silent Night kicking off the golden age of Fear Street because what we
Oh.
get, is really interesting and great and iconic
Mm,
stories. Um, but yeah, Clay, he was, I thought, a great contrast to what
mm.
we're seeing from Riva.
I like what you said, like how, he could be the equivalent, the male counterpart of what we're reading with Reva, but on a different level, kind of. I love the way that he tried to be all macho, like taking the gun, and then you find out like later on, it wasn't loaded, and I was like, oh, he's a softie, really. He wasn't really gonna do anything. So did you like their plan for the robbery was obviously to go in, rob from the rich essentially and give to them. So what they're classing as their poor because they at the moment they can't afford to buy presents for people. And so they had this arrangement, didn't they, with the security guard? I think his name was John Maywood, that he would leave a door open and then let them go in and get CDs and clothes, and as long as it's not there's no money involved, Pam was all right with that. She was like,
Mhm.
yeah, that's fine. So obviously Clay kind of comes up with this plan. Pam agrees to drive the car, but then halfway there she's like, I'm coming in with you, because she just couldn't resist, you see, she had to get involved. And then essentially the robbery does go wrong, and you get led to believe that Clay kind of uses the gun on the security guard, that comes down and finds them. So, did you like that whole aspect of the next day when they find out that the security guard is dead and there's money missing out of the safe? So you've automatically got a mystery there. Did you like that mystery element, Jesse?
I did. The one thing I do like about this book, just kind of stepping back, is that there's so much going on for a Fear Street book. I mean,
Yeah,
we've got
I'm trying to like
like
cram it all in.
there's like four or five different plot lines kind of happening
Yeah.
concurrently. The robbery is great. The twist is great.
Mm.
Again, he's getting really gritty here with like his storytelling. So I really appreciated that, and it's a good twist. I mean, there's
Mm.
multiple twists in the third act, but this is a
Yeah.
great place to start.
Yeah. How about you, Hiko? Did you like that whole all of a sudden there's a mystery element to it with the robbery going wrong?
Yeah, and it just, yeah, having the two plot lines,
Mm.
you start to feel it. You try to figure out how it's going to converge.
Yeah.
That's like the first kind of head scratcher, and then there's the murder, and um, yeah, and I really like there's a good amount of characters here, that you kind of really start wondering who, everyone's a suspect, everyone's kind of written out to be one of, anyone can be Riva's stalker,
Mm. Yeah.
and yeah, it was I liked, yeah, it upped the ante.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think
yeah.
so at that point. How about you, John? Did you like that element?
Yeah, and I wasn't expecting uh, that to happen, and it suddenly shifted into something a little bit more complex than I was imagining from a Fear
Yeah.
Street book. And especially at the point in the book where it happens, I was kind of looking at how many pages are left, and was like, okay, there's going to be something kind of going on here. I thought the whole setup for the robbery was great. There was a lot of suspense. I actually did kind of imagine myself in the store with them creeping in, and then obviously when
Yeah.
things start to go wrong, you sort of feel the frustration alongside them because I was there with Pam going, well, they didn't shoot anybody, they didn't take any money, they got away with nothing.
Yeah.
So at that point, I genuinely was like, okay, I really do want to know what's gone on here and who's done this.
Mhm.
This could be anybody. As we were
Mm.
saying, there's a real big cast of characters, and um, you in your head, you're like, well, everybody hates Reefer. So that
Yeah.
the stalker could be anyone, but who has set these kids up? And actually, the reveal was, did take me by surprise.
Yeah.
It did take me by surprise a lot, and it was a very thoughtful thought out reveal as well. It wasn't just something that felt kind of tacked on that he thought of at the last minute to get himself out of a plot hole. You know, it all, looking back, it all kind of made sense and where it was all coming from.
Yeah.
So I really appreciate what he did there, and it was really unexpected for me. So I did plow through that. At that point, I'd been kind of dipping in and out of it in breaks and work and stuff. And I did, from the point of the robbery onwards, I just kind of sat down and speed read the whole thing because I did really want to know what happened. And
What
I
was
think that's a
going on?
testament to how he set it up and how he wrote it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I enjoyed the mystery element. I love a mystery, so that was great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just loved the way as well, the way he wrote those scenes of them, you know, breaking in and them going around the department store. The way I just thought it was so well written in those scenes, and I was just like completely hooked, like you say, John. I was like
He couldn't.
speeding through it.
He didn't. He still can't resist the odd clunky red herring chapter ending. There's a bit where they come running out the store at the end, and she's like, "Oh no, the car's gone." I was like, "Oh no, who's taken the car?" And it turns out they've just come out the wrong door. I'm like,
Yeah.
"Oh, for God's sake!" I thought, you know, somebody knows they're in there. They've taken the car. You know, this is a real proper
Yeah.
setup, but they've just come out the wrong door. I was like, "Oh, for
Yeah.
God's sake."
There was
Yeah.
quite a good few like chapter endings, wasn't there, where she's like, someone pulled Reva into the cupboard, and then it's like chapter break, next chapter. Oh, it was a mannequin or
Yeah.
something like that.
Or the
So
machine.
cool.
What I loved is the machine gun fire. She's like, "Oh my God, someone's shooting at us!" And it's
the
the
machine gun
Christmas lights.
fire.
I've never heard Christmas lights that sound like a machine gun fire.
No.
No,
She was quite
definitely.
panicked. I know she was kind of on a heightened sense of, oh gosh, someone's got it out for me. But I'm like, come on, Reba.
Yeah, but her
Christmas
dad
lights don't like
faints
machine
as
guns.
well. Her
Yeah.
That's where
dad
she gets it from.
faints.
Her dad's a complete drama queen as well, so that's where she gets it from.
Yeah.
What were you going to say something, Hiko?
I just, the whole robbery scene reminded me of like this daydream I always had about sneaking into a shopping mall late at night and having the whole place to myself,
Oh,
or even a
yeah.
department store, like, you know, crashing and sleeping on the furniture and the mattresses and having that eerie sense of a empty, vacant department store and a mall,
Yeah.
just having it all to yourself.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. The dream.
In my head, and I don't know if anybody else like this because you're up the American department stores and things are quite different maybe to how they are in England. So in my head, I was envisaging that kind of old-fashioned department store from I Know What You Did Last Summer. In my head, that's what it
Oh,
kind of looked like,
yeah.
you know, the wooden, the really old-fashioned place. I wasn't sure if I don't really remember that they gave a huge description of what the interior of the store kind of looked like. So in my head, that's what it looked like.
Yeah.
Well, yeah,
Heightened suspense.
rereading this, my memory was I always thought the Dalby's department store was a part of the Division Street Mall, but I think it's its own separate store now. And that
Ah.
totally reshifted my memory and the layout of what this store could be. So it could just be a multi-level store somewhere, you know, just on Division Street.
Yeah.
Because I kept associating it with the mall in Shadyside. And yeah, it was interesting to recorrect my brain.
Oh, I love that. No, my look, I'd get. I'm sorry, I was going to say, no, my look, I'd get the dream
Yeah.
of like, let's go in the, you know, the department store, and they would have moved everything. I wouldn't be able to find anything, and I'd just get arrested by the police. That's it. Shelley in jail. Gone.
It's teenage wish fulfillment though, right? Almost too to, you
Yeah.
know, like, oh, we're not robbing the department store for money, we're robbing it for product. And
For
so
good.
let's just go crazy and get stereos and clothes and CDs and all of that. So
Yeah.
yeah, I feel like those classic department stores don't really exist as much as they used to, at least in the States. I mean, you're still going to find something like that in like, you know, San Francisco, New York, maybe
Oh,
even
okay.
LA, but just the old kind of traditional, like the Macy's or, you know, something like that.
It would
Yeah.
probably now be a Target or a
Right,
Walmart.
exactly. Yep,
Yeah.
Oh.
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, the 90s. We miss
Yeah.
them. Veggie Kitty Kelly said, I loved having the two different situations going on simultaneously to follow and then seeing how they wove together and then ultimately coincided with each other. I've got a little bit behind, sorry. Um, Matthew said, we're going to have to do it. I think that's about reading the sequels, definitely. Bill said, I felt so bad for Mitch when he went to ask Reva out and she just flatly rejected him after setting out to break him and, is it Lisa or Lisa, up? Then he ended up folded up in a box, poor guy. It's for our entertainment. Matthew said that Foxy Rob twist was fantastic. So obviously I don't know when it was, but I started suspecting Foxy at some point. So bear in mind I'd not read this before, and I was like, Foxy's just acting a little bit, I don't know, I think it might be him, but I didn't expect that he was actually going to be Rob, who we met in the Reva storyline. And obviously, what did you think? Like, did that blow your mind? John, I'll ask you first, because obviously it's a first time read. I was like,
Yeah.
what?
Yeah, because when she talked about Foxy again, I thought I'd missed something. I was like, did I miss some like big introduction to this person? Because I couldn't quite work out from the dialogue if they were together, if there was boyfriends, if it was just another friend. And I thought maybe I've missed something. And then as I got through, I was like, okay, she seems to be kind of smitten with this guy, or at least kind of hanging out with him in a more than friends kind of way. And then that revealed that it was also Rob who we'd met, way back in the book. I was like, okay, that's actually really, really clever, because then Rob, even though Reva's still mean about Rob, and you kind of get the impression that she kind of likes him, but she thinks that, she'd be embarrassed to be seen with him or something. She didn't outright wasn't horrible to him necessarily, apart from being quite unpleasant about the fact that he's obviously supposed to be a bigger guy.
Yeah.
But then Rob obviously is the catalyst when her little brother sits on, the sand, and she knows that he's been missing, and that sets off the whole chain reaction events. So at first I was kind of like, well, what's the point of this? It's a nice little twist, but where's this going? But then I kind of saw why it was done, because it was kind of the catalyst that kind of set the final kind of confrontation, the final reveal in kind of motion. So I thought it was really well done, and I wasn't expecting it. And again, just a nice little, he piles on the twists in this, and there was kind of twist after twist after twist, and all of them kind of worked, which I give him total credit for.
Yeah,
it felt very planned out. It felt like he'd sat down and plotted this entire thing out, whereas some of the other Fear Streets I've read kind of felt like he was just kind of writing and kind of knew the beginning, knew the end, and everything else he was kind of worked out along the way. This one felt quite deliberate.
And I really loved how it was Reva's little brother who just innocently, if we're honest, just said, oh, he didn't feel like Santa, because I could tell it was a pillow. That then, sparks, the twist.
But doesn't that horrible? And then Reva's like sitting there, well, Rob doesn't need a pillow. He's got all his weight himself. I'm like, for God's sake, Reva. There she goes back to type again.
I was like, do I feel like a pillow? It's having a little.
I think Reva even calls him a chub at some point. I think in one of the descriptions, and then I had to go back and see if there were any descriptions of Foxy, and when it's Pam's POV, when Foxy shows up with Mickey and Clay at Mickey and Clay's, he's described as a teddy bear. So there, I said, oh, that's like an interesting way of kind of describing someone in a different way.
Yeah, because I think you get
between
that
how
line.
Pam sees him and how Reva does. You
get that line from Reva. I think I wrote it down where she said, so she's on about that she couldn't go out with Rob because I just couldn't go out with Rob. He's such a buffalo, as she says. But then, as you say, Pam refers to him as a real teddy bear. And I was like, we love Pam. How about you, Jessie? Did you like the whole Rob, Foxy?
Foxy is Rob, and Foxy is Rob, and Rob is Foxy. It's great, especially having read the book before, knowing that twist is coming, sort of rereading it through that POV. And it's great. And Reva's a terrible person because she likes Rob. She has a crush on Rob. She acknowledges that she's attracted to Rob, but he's also, he's a bigger guy too. So she can't go out with him, purely based on that aesthetic alone. So I did. Yeah. And, Rob is great. Can't talk, but the multiple twists at the end that he had been sending these presents and whatnot. I mean, again, twist on twist on twist in that, kind of third act of the book.
I mean, and he was quite creative with his presents. I mean, putting a mannequin in a box with a bow. I mean,
Yeah.
he went to some effort. He really did. How about you, Hugo? Did you like the whole Rob Foxy
Oh
twist?
yeah, and it just yeah, it just uh, yeah, like John was mentioning how this it felt Arlstein really put a lot of thought and planning into the plot of this book, and
Yeah.
it's a super chiller. This is I think he really demonstrated how it's two stories in one, two books, like two small books in one,
Hmm.
Mm,
and all of it converging together is what makes a great super chiller. And yeah,
yeah.
the Rob and Foxy. At first, when Foxy was introduced, I'm like, who nicknames or even names someone Foxy like that? I remember that was a brand of lettuce over here in the States. We had Foxy lettuce. You can buy a head of lettuce called Foxy, and that stood out so oddly
But
to me.
it's
So
so funny because when I was reading it, so where there's a manager where I work and we call him Foxy. His last name's Fox, and I was like, I just can't unsee Fox like the Foxy I know. So I was like, oh dear, like I need to like think of someone else. Oh dear. Autumn said she liked the Fox Rob twist. That was great. I had a feeling he would be one of them since they never said his name, but I wasn't quite sure who it would be. I think that's where I was coming from. I was like, I'm a bit suspicious on that Foxy, definitely. And I loved the whole thing with Rob in his Santa suit and the realistic thing of the kid sneezing in Rob's face while he's dressed as Santa, and you could just imagine it happening as well. um, I saw Scott said, I felt really sympathetic for Mikey because of his dad, but felt that Clay was just taking advantage of him and Pam. Oh, interesting. So obviously Mikey's dad at the very beginning of the book gets sacked essentially from his job as a security guard because he's been drinking on the job, and Reva's dad's just not putting up with that. So obviously then we get the reveal that his dad like overheard the robbery, essentially the plan that Clay was putting forward with Mikey and Pam, and essentially follows them. Does he follow them, or does he go and think, oh, I'll go and rob them as well? He's going to rob the money, isn't he? And so much happens in this book. I'm like, my memory is just woo. So he does another plan with the security guard who's letting them in to go and rob the safe, basically, doesn't he? And then he sees his son there. He's one of the kids that the security guards let in, and he essentially protects his son, doesn't he, by shooting the other security guard? So did we feel sympathy for, for that moment, for that character at that time, Jesse?
It's just so sad, you know.
Yeah.
Just the whole storyline, the character of the dad, the family, the fact that he's an alcoholic, but
Mm.
also the irony that they're planning all of this while he's in the next room and they just think he's drunk or passed out, but he's
Oh,
been listening
yeah.
this whole time. I was just kind of thinking about sort of the plots in as a whole with the robbery and
Mm.
the foxy of it all. It felt very like 1950s kind of pulpy to me. I mean, if you kind of
Mm.
take out a little bit of the, 90s technology, it's kind of very pulpy. Who fired the gun? Because
Yeah.
Clay brings a gun, but it's not loaded, and so somebody has shot the other security guard. Yeah, I mean, there's just a lot of layers to it.
Yeah.
But overall, I just thought it was kind of sad.
Yeah. I thought it was a good twist. I mean, I didn't see it coming. I think you said that, didn't you, John? You didn't see that twist coming. And was it a
No.
pleasant? You enjoyed that twist and
Yeah, because it
what?
didn't feel, it felt, when you got when it was him, I was like, oh, okay,
Hmm.
that kind of makes sense. And then they told you, you kind of found out, why he'd done it and where it all came from. And it didn't feel unrealistic. It kind of felt very realistic because he'd been in the background. It wasn't like pulling a Friday the 13th where suddenly this character appears
Mm,
10 minutes before the end and they say, aha, it wasn't like something you couldn't not have gone back and said, oh, actually, there's no way that could have been him. He was kind of in the background, in the periphery, and he was enough of an interesting character, at least in the background, for it to make sense when it's him.
Yeah.
Again, it felt very Murder She Wrote because it was like a character in the background that they'd set up, but you've taken your eyes off him. I kind of kept I kept expecting it might be her boss on the
I thought it was the
perfume
boss,
counter
yeah.
because again she was a little bit in the background. You got enough she had the motivation to do it, and I thought it was very sad that obviously he ended up with being the person that killed Mitch as well because he was blackmailing people. So I felt I agree with Jesse. I felt really bad for him. This poor man, he'd lost his livelihood because of Reva's dad. His life was going down the tubes. He was drinking more, and so not the way to go about it, murder, but you kind of didn't. You sympathise with him,
protect his son.
Yeah,
essentially.
Exactly. Yeah, and it was that nice kind of thing where he was like looking out for his son, and Reva obviously was feeling really bad about it, and and had that realization that maybe this has all come from the loss of her mother. So there was a lot of kind of elements there about sort of parents and the kind of influence that they have on their kids or the way that they protect them. Again, something that is again akin to more to like a Pike book than we often see in a Fear Street book. Quite sophisticated and quite layered and complex, I thought.
I have to say, while I was reading it, I did feel like I was reading, like you've mentioned before, reading a Pike book. I was reminded of, when we read Final Friends earlier in the year, the first book of that. So yeah, it did feel very, very Pike-ish. But do you think, Hiko?
Yeah, I think it was just an example at the end of the day of like someone's socioeconomic status forcing your hand to do something really bad. And that was Mr. Wakely, Mickey's dad. Finding a last resort to help his the condition of his life, and going back to what Jesse was saying about him kind of feeling like a 50s throwback character. I totally could see that, especially in the end during the reveal when he's like explaining himself, holding the gun at Reva. He uses the word "see" after almost every sentence, like he's speaking like a 50s gumshoe or detective. Like I had to do this for my son, see, and I had to set him up, and he couldn't Mitch couldn't blackmail my son, see, and I got the. It was a very like old pulpy way of speaking, and I'm sure R.L. Stine, he was influenced by a lot of those pulpy comic books he read growing up in the 50s and 60s. So I think there you can see that influence in there. Just having known a lot about R.L. Stine and done so much research on him, you can see that influence and him putting it into this 90s Fear Street story.
Oh yeah, definitely. I love that, and I love the accidental. He killed. Did he kill Mitch? Did Mr. Wakely kill Mitch? Yeah, he did, didn't he? But he put him in the box just because the box was there. And it wasn't like intentionally for Reva, and then obviously it gets delivered to Reva.
Back to her.
Because her name was still on the box. Yeah.
And I kind of like that because obviously it makes Reva spiral, and it's just totally accidental. I love a bit of an accidental plot twist like that. That was cool.
That was so funny. Funny. She took the box out back and it comes back to her with a dead body in it. I quite like that.
Oh dear. I mean, knowing Reva, really what she should have thought was, whoever's done this has used the same like bow, the same like
They're so cheap.
wrapping paper. Cheap, yes, cheap. I saw Autumn put Hiko, so excited for your book, Hiko. Yeah, we're all really excited.
Can't wait.
Oh, I can't wait.
Thank you.
Veggie Kitty Kelly said there's something so creepy but also exciting about the thought of being in a sprawling department store after hours. Definitely, I'll just skim through some of these. Oh yeah, and I meant to just mention about Mr. Wakely's death falling on the Christmas tree. I was like, oh, so cool. You just imagine that playing out. I mean, kind of just like flops over the balcony, and you hear the pop of them lights again. Going to play a little bit.
And it's probably those big bulbs because they pop,
Hmm.
you know.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah, those big old-fashioned
painful.
bulbs.
Yeah, but ultimately he died.
Mm.
Shame. Bill said another R.L. Stine killer meets their end by falling to their death. That's what reminded me of the Christmas tree. Matthew said R.L. Stine would end a chapter mid-sentence if he needed to. So, like with his famous endings for his chapters. Some of them are just hilarious. I wonder if it's like a little challenge, like I'm going to end it in a way that just amuses him. That's what I wonder sometimes. Larissa said quite old lights did pop.
Hmm.
Sorry, quite old lights did pop quite loudly when they blew, to be fair. Or when you stood on them. Do you remember, like, when I was a kid, I remember, like, standing on, like, the fairy lights by accident and, like, the crunch and it's my Alexa going off. The crunch of them under my feet and the pain afterwards, definitely. Scott said there are a lot of scary mannequins in the book. Reva will have a phobia of them by book 2.
And those mannequins pop up in the cover art for 3, Silent Night
Oh
3.
yeah,
Hmm.
they
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
do. Yeah, Matthew said mannequins are scary. I think they're scary. I wouldn't like to be in a dark department store seeing like a load of mannequins, definitely. Sharon said when I was a kid I thought mannequins were frozen people. Aww. Oh, I can see why though. Matthew said Reva should have been told a big man you can really get a hold of is the best kind. Oh, really?
Oh.
Oh, what are we referring to there, Matthew?
Hmm.
I had to read that carefully because I was like, wait a sec. Someone's trying to catch me out. um, Veggie Kitty Kelly says when Reva realises Rob wasn't in the Santa outfit because he didn't need the pillow, yeah. Reva is so blunt and cruel, definitely. Matthew said a gangster mole would have a boyfriend named Foxy. It's such a 30s gangster name. That's
Hmm.
so true. I didn't think of it like that until you mentioned that, Jesse, definitely. Matthew said, how did he not know his son would be involved if he heard them planning it in the next room with his son? Oh, yeah. But maybe he thought, because he was a drunk,
Right.
essentially. So maybe he wasn't sure and he didn't hear properly, maybe. You never know. Scott said, what happened to the other security guard, the one who let them into the store? So we never hear about this security guard again, do we? I'm sure we don't. Yeah, just
He'll eventually
disappears.
get fired. He'll eventually
Right.
get
Oh,
fired.
I wonder if he ran off with the money and just like went, because obviously the money was never recovered, I'm guessing.
Mm-mm.
So maybe he did a double bluff and ran off, maybe. Matthew said, for a minute, I wondered if it was Mr. Dolby robbing his own store because of the money troubles he was having, but he didn't tell anybody about. Yeah, that's true. Because you get that scene with Mr. Dolby just like locked in his office, don't you? With his head in his hands or something
Mm.
like that. So it could be. Yeah, it could have been quite easily.
I was just reading back there just because I was getting confused there, and I think he didn't know that Mickey was going to be part of the robbery. I think Maywood had told him
Oh,
that he'd arranged 3 kids to come in, keep the other guard busy. In the meantime, they
yeah.
would rob the safe, but then he saw that Mickey was one of them, saw the other guard was going to pull out his gun, and so shot the guard
Hmm.
Oh,
there.
Hmm.
yeah.
So he was kind of present when they were kind of quietly planning the robbery, but maybe just obviously just didn't know it was his kid that
Mm.
was going to be part of the trio.
Oh, bless
Yeah,
him. Oh,
God,
oh,
yeah, there was a lot
so
going on. It got quite
sad.
confusing.
Yeah. Hmm.
Yeah, there's so much going on. I was like, how am I going to fit all this into a chat that's just jam packed? Autumn says, I totally read the whole part out loud to my husband. So I did it for my son. See, you meddling kids. See. Oh, was you going to say something, Jesse? Sorry. Did I overtalk you? Oh, I thought you
No,
was going to
no, no,
say
no,
something.
not at
Sorry.
all. No, 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 not at all. Though I will say it, it all reminded me too of like a Perry Mason mystery. I still watch those old
Oh,
reruns on a regular basis,
yeah.
and those were 30s and 40s pulp novels that then turned into the 50s show. But it's the same thing where you have this very large cast of characters in a very kind of short window of time, and you're going to have twist on twist on twist. So yeah,
Yeah,
definitely had that. Just, John was mentioning Murder, She Wrote, but I had to take it back even further, and it definitely had
yeah,
kind of that Perry Mason quality to me.
yeah. That's so true. Yeah, Nerissa said about Mr. Wakely, he didn't hear that. The other guard just said there were kids breaking in, like you said, John, which would distract the other guard while they robbed the money. Yeah. Oh, see, this is why we need to talk about these books sometimes, because it
Hmm.
doesn't go in my head sometimes. So overall, then we had a lot of fun revisiting, or well, for me and John, first time
Hmm.
reading the book. Yeah, and we definitely will do the sequel because I need to know what happens now.
Hmm.
I'm invested in Reva and Pam. Like now I know Pam's in the sequel, I'm even more invested. Oh no, Hiko's giving me a look like don't get too
Oh no,
clingy
no,
to
Oh
Pamela.
no, they're great. No, and yeah,
no,
I will
no,
say
no.
the third one's my favorite, I think, actually, out of all of
Oh,
them. Yeah.
it's all
It
right. You
involves
go.
a fashion show
Yes.
Ooh.
inside the department store. Yes.
No
Oh
spoilers.
oh, I'm invested now. No, you gave me that look like my husband gives me when like he's like trying not to spoil something, and
Oh
like I've
no, I
just
didn't.
guessed it.
My look was just a look. My look was just a look.
Oh dear. Matthew said Perry Mason. Now Raymond Bird was a big man you could really get a hold of.
Yes, he
See.
was.
And Sharon said, I love Perry Mason. Oh, guys, yeah, we'll have to definitely do the sequel. And, like, thank you so much for chatting. Like, you've made me appreciate it. I mean, I really enjoyed the book, but you've made me appreciate it a lot more, definitely, like, thinking of all the different things. And I was really thinking, like, how are we going to get everything into the chat? But I think we covered most things, to be honest, including the jalapeno dip. We got that in there.
Yes. Yes, we
Yum,
did.
yum, 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 yum. Oh, and Jesse, have the absolute loveliest birthday tomorrow,
Well, love you all.
21, as
Thank
I
you so
say.
much. I know. I know. I finally get to go out and drink.
Yeah, whoop, whoop.
Yay.
Oh, and I hope you have the most wonderful Christmas as well. This is the last chat before Christmas, but we'll be back next year and we'll all have another little chat about probably Reva at some point. And thanks to everyone in the comments, and thanks for all your support and joining in.
Yay.
And
Merry
yeah, Merry
Christmas.
Merry
Christmas. Oh,
Christmas.
hang on. Merry
Yay.
Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Thanks,
Merry Christmas.
everyone. Speak to you soon. Bye.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye,
Bye.
guys.
Bye.
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 Take
Bye.
care, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
You too.
Bye.